I'd like to start my talk by asking you, the audience, a question. How many of you think you were born in the wrong generation? Well, I assume it's quite a lot of you. I see you. You want to go back to the good old days, when the music on the radio was Queen or the Rolling Stones, when concert tickets were $20, the good old days, when women didn't have the right to vote. Simpler times, when there was no global pandemic, no social media, and no female college graduates. It was the best fashion, the best celebrities, the best music, and the best time for men. Imagine a world where all you young women don't have to clock into your 9 to 5 where you make minimum wage. Instead, you clock into your 24/7, 365 with no salary, no HR department, no one to sue if you're mistreated. But it's all okay, right? A perfect traditional marriage is an equal exchange. Money for services, security for comfort. The husband works his big important corporate job, bringing in the big bills, and the wife, the mother, she stays home. She cooks, bakes, cleans, births kids, and holds their hand when life and the third grade is tough. At the end of the day, they're all happy and it's all okay. At the end of the day. At the end of the relationship, however, when it's no longer all butterflies and rainbows and the couple eventually splits, the man has already climbed up on the corporate ladder, and if he's suddenly wifeless, he could just order takeout every day, live in a dirty house, and ignore his kids till the new trad wife comes along. But the woman, she's left with no house, no job, no investments, no savings, no bank account, no job experience, around 20 years of missing work experience, no idea how to market themselves, find a job, write a CV, start a business. Only thing they have left is kids to take care of, their cooking and cleaning skills, and years of trauma to work through. It would not be a hyperbole to say that these women do not even have themselves, having committed years to being their husbands, man and wife, man and mother, man and his personal little helper. All the things I've just listed might make you feel a little bit scared and like the world is doomed. And I would say, good. It is scary. Despite what the trad wives of TikTok might be trying to tell you, it's not a pretty picture, at least not always. Here's the relatable scenario. You're scrolling TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and on your screen comes a beautiful young woman, and she talks about the lunch she made for her 7 toddlers. She baked the bread herself, the cheese is organic from her farm, she churned the butter herself, her kitchen is so clean, her body is so beautiful, her kids are so well behaved, and her life is so perfect. Right? Well, I'm not going to be the first one to say that it's not that one-dimensional. Let me make this clear. I'm not trying to tell you that you can't stay home, that you can't be a traditional wife. I'm not going to tell you that making home-baked goods is morally wrong. I'm not going to stand here on this stage and try to tell you how to live your life. My only problem being that recently, everyone else's. From the speakers at graduations or at TED Talks, from the commercials you see in a magazine before a YouTube video on TV, academics, teachers, parents, priests, rabbis, all those above you have recently been making great big speeches about women's role in society, women's path. They will keep saying phrases like, that's the way it is, or that's the way it should be. All those above you, and most importantly men, will keep trying to tell you who you are. You should, you shouldn't, you shan't, you need to, you can't. You will always be, and you are. So men are trying to oppress women, shocker, but what's really surprising to me is not the fact that men are trying to put down women. I've frankly gotten used to it. It's the fact that these women seem to often be okay with it. Even deeming themselves trad wives, choosing that path on their own. And I don't blame them. In this patriarchal society, because we do live in a society, it's extremely difficult to exist as a woman without these outside forces influencing your life. In certain environments, like a conservative small town or a propaganda-driven private school, it can feel and even be impossible to free yourselves. Those influences might be religion, for example. Let's take Mormonism. The LDS Church believes that the man is to go out and run the church, essentially run the world. And the woman is to stay home and populate the earth with as many Mormons as possible. Her universe is more valuable than her mind or kind heart ever could be. Those are very clear rules, and there are very clear punishments for violating them. Like a woman that divorces her husband and no longer wants to fulfill her Mormon destiny is not only separated from her kids in this life, she loses all rights and ownership of them in the afterlife. For a practicing Mormon, that is a nightmare. What would you rather have? Just a job that will cost you the people you love most, your friends, your family, excommunication from the church, and the love of a deity you believe to rule the whole world? Or would you rather just stay home, churn butter and pray, only thinking of the life you could have had in distant passing? Will you have more rights, throwing bricks, suing the culprits, speaking out, protesting, fighting every day for the equality of men and women? Or telling the men how smart and strong they are, praying that through all this obedience, you're going to get your rights one day? So what do we do? I alone can abolish capitalism, the patriarchy, undo years of traditions. None of you can change the world by yourselves. But there is a solution, and it's feminism. A woman much smarter than me, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, has written many truly amazing, inspiring books on feminism. But the one that really stood out to me was Dear Ijuela, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions. She aims these suggestions at a friend that has just had a baby girl and wants to raise her as a feminist. I assume very few of you here have children, so maybe instead of raising a little girl to be a feminist, raise one inside yourselves. And if we were all cool with plagiarism, I would just quote every single word of that book for 20 minutes, but that's not the point. So here's the spark notes of Chimamanda's 15 suggestions. First of all, abolish the idea of gender roles. You don't do something because you're a girl, and you don't have a place destined for you because you're a woman. Womanhood is merely context, a fact of life, not the main factor that should be dictating your decisions. In her book, Adichie used a very interesting term for a kind of halfway feminism. She called it feminism light, a term describing people that believe in the idea of he's driving but you're in the front seat, making women so very close to men, but still beneath them. And she put it very clearly, you either believe in the full equality of men and women, or you do not. Read, learn, get your knowledge, write, learn to love books, be informed, be conscious. Do not let yourself become a person who just wants cheaper eggs, because resistance against the system that is trying to limit you, that is trying to tell you that you can't have a higher education, is knowledge of said system. Let me tell you a personal anecdote. For a long time, when describing the oppression against women, I've been using the terms sexism and misogyny interchangeably. And while I was not technically wrong, I didn't really know the meaning of those words. Thankfully, a kind friend explained it to me, sexism being the discrimination of someone based on their gender, and misogyny being sexism aimed specifically at women. Nothing has really changed. I still use these words in the same sentences that I used before, but now I know what I'm saying. Before, I just threw these accusations around. We tend to do that a lot, don't we? He's such a sexist. That is a crime against women's rights. Women's liberation. What does that even mean? Similarly, question. Why can't women be handsome? And why can't men be pretty? Why is it wrong when I call a young woman old enough to have a husband when she reaches a certain age? Why do we accept X in men, but don't accept X in women? Why is feminism a forbidden term that is only to be discussed at a TED Talk, not in a school classroom? Let me quote directly here. Find ways to make it clear that marriage is not an achievement. You can be happy or unhappy in the marriage. You can be fulfilled as a wife or husband, But a marriage is not an achievement, nor what you should aspire to. And I think that speaks for itself. Reject likability. Don't walk down the street thinking, what if they don't like me? Don't change your values to become a better person in the eyes of your colleagues or classmates. When they want the perfect woman that is both educated but not so smart that she puts others down. When they want the woman that is beautiful but not too beautiful because that's not what we want. When they want the perfect woman, you shall be, well, a woman. You shall be yourself. Which sounds fake and commercial, but believe me, there's no truer, greater act of protest than saying, this is me. I am going to be unapologetically, truly myself, in my truest form. You're not ugly, and being beautiful is not a thing you should aspire to. You won't be truly happier if your hair is shinier. There's no word for being the most masculine. There's no word for having the shiniest hair, and the longest lashes, and the most beautiful makeup, and there's no word for having the least plastic surgery. We tend to value women on the basis of their looks, not even consciously sometimes, but this is excused because she's beautiful and she's a model, and this is not excused because she's an ugly B word. Christian society's selective use of biology. Men can cheat because their biology makes them do it, and men need the youngest girls because that's what the biology says. And women are to stay home and not speak out because of the biology. Though they are a distant relative of ours, we are not monkeys. We have societies, languages, arts, inventions, beautiful things. So why do we feel the need to dumb down beautiful relations between two people to the simple biological justification for them? And let me quote directly again. Teach her about difference, make difference normal, and the purpose of this is not to be fair or nice, but merely to be human and practical. Because difference is the reality of our world, and by teaching her about difference, you are equipping her to survive in a diverse world. The oppressed are not saints just because they're oppressed. You're not a better person just because you're discriminated against. And although this is a very simple concept, it needs to be repeated again and again and again and again. Similar to that, women are not morally better than men. You have two people in the room, who are you more likely to trust? The answer is obviously a woman. But why? And if you remember anything from what I said today, remember this. Be a full person. Don't define yourself by just motherhood. Just staying home, just your looks, just your relationship to men, just your relationship to other women. You can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dimensional. You can have hobbies, interests, passion, knowledge. You can have a job and a family. Let me tell you another personal anecdote. My own mother, for example, she said multiple times that she loves cooking. I can see that she loves taking care of me and my sister. But outside of that, she's a business owner. She has her own income. She has hobbies, she has interests, she is able to grow and fulfill herself in ways that are totally separate from her husband and kids. Now, isn't that the dream? That you could be anything you want to be, everything you please? What am I doing here, right? We all know this. This is obviously widely taught in schools, and I don't have to repeat these things because they're obvious. We all know how bad it gets. And I don't have to say that 1 in 3 women has reported their sexual or non-sexual partners using sexual or physical violence on them. Because this is a major statistic, and you've been taught this before, and this is obvious. And all the women here between the ages of 15 and 49 know that 27% of their peers have reported their husbands or boyfriends indulging in domestic violence. That's such a huge statistic, and all of you know this, because you've been taught this before, because everyone has said this. And it's ridiculous that I have to stand here, and that I have to say how bad it gets, that the attack on women can have very high social and economic repercussions. And I don't even have to quote a statistic. because you believe me when I say how bad it gets. 18% of traditional wives report being happy in a traditional marriage. 18%. If those were the odds for surgery, none of us would risk it. And when I tell you that I got all these statistics from a trusted source like the WHO, you all believe me. And don't think I just make them up to prove my own point. Because we all believe women when they speak up, right? Only thing I ask of you, next time you say you were born in the wrong generation and you want to go back to the good old days of the past, please clarify you mean flirt genes and not inequality. Thank you.